listen to that lovely music, and that spells the start of season 6, episode 6 of Whiskey Unscripted. And with the powers vested in me, I hit this button and say, welcome to Mr. Gordon Dundas. Are you there, Gordon?
How you doing? We've been a bit of a gap. We've had a bit of a gap.
Yes, there's been a gap in our recording, but people are catching up with it. And
they are.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you've been away, Gordon.
I have been away. Yeah, I've been away. I mean, do you want to hear about my holiday, or do you want to hear about the whiskey?
Well, I think we all want to hear about the whiskey. What were you pouring? Where were you? And
I was lucky enough to be in Canada early in mid-January, which was over a month ago. Unbelievable. Yeah, great market. Alberta for us, very good market. Really good time in Calgary, and then headed over to Vancouver Island to one of the best whiskey festivals in the world, actually, I would say. The Victoria Whiskey Festival. Really nice whiskey festival. Really nice feel about it. They look after you. It's really good. So that was great. And then, yeah, that was good. So I've been away. You've been busy as well. You've been in Germany, have you not?
That's right. Yes, again, 2 great whiskey festivals. You know them very well, Gordon. The Finest Spirits.
Yeah.
Down in Bavaria in Munich, which is back to its normal place in the calendar. And that whiskey calendar, which you may have we talk about, because it's getting a very busy whiskey calendar. And then a week later, I was in the north of Germany, in Hamburg, at the Hansa Spirit Festival.
Ah, yes, I know that one as well.
Which is a really nice whiskey festival. Both these are, the Hansa Spirits have been on for a couple of years, so it was great to see that. So we have been travelling, but we're back with episode 6. And Gordon, before I even begin, because I've got a lot to get through today, including the brand new Whiskey Unscripted answering machine. We've got a budget.
We've got a budget, and we've got somebody leaving messages.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
we have. But can I ask, what are you drinking? And there's my one just open.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just gone for something that I've been getting a little bit of a taste for. The new Glengoyne 15, just fabulous. If you've not tried it, make sure you get a sample of it at a show or buy a bottle. Fabulous whiskey. And actually, Glengoyne has actually just promoted an initiative that if you want to do some volunteer work, then you can actually get a bottle of the 15-year-old. So no, the new 15, nothing like the old 15, but beautiful, typically Glengoyne, lovely sherry and bourbon casks.
That's exactly it. I just think it's got that slightly more first fill sherry casks, which is a pleasant surprise. When it first came out, I just feel it's a bit richer, a bit smoother, and a bit deeper than the other one, which was
I agree.
Fabulous jam.
Yeah, but very great dram. And actually, what was interesting, I was speaking to somebody, he was telling me, Glengoyne's fabulous. I'd love it to be at 46. Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, I mean, obviously a little bit more alcohol can be a beneficial element in a whiskey, but actually Glengoyne is so flavoursome. It's got such a flavoured spirit. We use such a wonderful cask that I don't think it affects it as much. And I think the 15-year-old is really, really lovely at 43%. Fantastic dram.
I think it is. And we're getting a lot of that. There's lots of debates in the industry. I might not go into this one today, Gordon, but you're right enough. We've got a lot of people talking about 46 because that's the chill filtration limit.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. And, for a lot of people, that's quite strong, and so there's quite a lot of debate and quite a lot of things, but yeah, I love a cask strength whiskey. I did a tasting on Friday in Carlisle at House of Malt. What a wonderful shop that is. The cask strength was probably the whiskey of the evening. I mean, we did do the 25, which obviously is utterly fabulous and amazing, but the cask strength, a lot of people were loving that because they loved the way that when you have a cask strength whiskey, you can drink it at cask strength, or you can add a drop of water, see how it changes. Fabulous. So yeah, Glengoyne's great at any strength, really.
Well, I'm going to have, and I'd like just to
what have you
start
got
off
there?
The debate. I've got I'm just going to pour it in here. Oh, nice. An Isle of Skye.
An Isle of Skye. So you are drinking a blended whiskey.
I'm drinking a blends, and we're going to talk about the figures from the Scottish Whisky Association that come out shortly. The reason that I'm drinking this Isle of Skye, I would love to pay tribute to Mr. Peter Russell. Sadly passed away, aged 95.
Yes.
And he acquired, and I think just a small little, we talk about the year it changed history, whiskey history, and we've done that in the past. A little bit of that for this part of the show.
Yeah.
In 1963, Peter Russell acquired Isle of Skye from Ian Macleod Distillers.
And at that point, that's when the company was called Ian Macleod. Is that not right?
Correct. And
So we'd
that's
been in the
two
business
families.
for 30 years by then.
Yes, yes. So Peter Russell, his father started the company
Yeah.
in 1936. And in 1963, they acquired the Ian Macleod Company in 1963. And they went from being brokers to becoming whiskey blenders with this wonderful blended whiskey, Gordon, which has got part, I would imagine, Talisker, some Speyside whiskey in there as well. I think even some cheeky lowland whiskey makes it in there. A lovely blend of some of the great malts from Scotland, some grain whiskey, and it's been a perennial favourite, really. And that, you know, you could say the Ian Macleod story really kicks up and gets moving after 1963. Would that be fair? And just a word about Peter Russell.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. And, you know, I think what was really interesting was how that business from that point onwards became to what it is now. You know, it transitioned through broking into blending into, you know, the deal that they did with Sainsbury's in the late 70s, early 80s to produce the whiskey for Sainsbury's, to then buying a bottling plant in conjunction with Glenfarclas, to then obviously the purchase of Glengoyne, which was visionary. I mean, it wasn't visionary, but what it was a real step change for the business. So in terms of Ian Macleod, it was visionary. Understanding that, you know, owning your own distillery was really important for the longevity of the business. That was further enhanced by the purchase of the much bigger Tamdhu distillery, which, let's be honest, was not ultimately for the production of single malt. Of course, that's a huge benefit and was a large part of it, but it was for the element of that whiskey that could be produced to help us with all of our other brands, such as, you know, our blends and blended malts and trading and all that type of thing. Then you look at Rosebank, you look at the purchase of the site at Rosebank, the ability of Ian Macleod to do the deal with Rosebank, and all of that is all about the legacy of Peter Russell. It's all about how this business is thought of within whiskey, and he was an absolute, I mean, I can actually use the word icon because he is an icon of whiskey in the Whiskey Magazine Hall of Fame, and he really genuinely was quite an incredible man to know. Loved the gin and tonic as well.
He did. And I did actually, Gordon, you used the word visionary, and that word was used in the obituaries that I was reading as well. A business visionary that was quite a small business. It was a broken business. Just explain broking, buying casks from one distillery, selling them to another distillery.
Yeah, exactly. You know, back in the sort of 50s, 60s, you know, etc., these big businesses that were making the blends of the day couldn't really be seen to be doing business with each other, and you know, so brokers were used, as they still are. And we still are in that business, and we still broke whiskey around the industry. But it was the fundamentals of where this business came from, and we now look at the business with its, you know, cross gin, you know, 3 distilleries, pretty much. Rosebank's not far off being completed. Look what's happening on Islay, plus our other brands. It really has transformed, but it has a diversity to it, which gives it strength. So and the dynamic of working for a family-run Scottish whiskey business, Leonard has taken that on as well, and it's fabulous. And I thoroughly love working for Ian Macleod, and you know, to Mr. Peter, thank you very much for setting this business on where it is now.
Really amazing. And I was reading another obituary actually in the Racing Post and in the Scottish Sun, which is one of, if you're not familiar with it, it's one of the UK, one of Scotland's leading tabloid papers, and it was mostly centred on his horse training part of his life as well. And his daughter Lucinda Russell also mentioned that things started really going to another level with that supermarket deal that you've mentioned about Sainsbury's. Now, you know, it maybe wasn't the first, but it was in that sort of first wave of whiskey going into supermarkets. And I think now the sector is huge. But back then, it would be a novelty to maybe move into a supermarket with whiskey. Would that be correct?
Oh, totally. I mean, I think, if we look at, I mean, it's quite interesting if you look at that side of the business, because obviously when you're producing whiskey for a supermarket, one of the major things that you want to do is obviously produce good whiskey, but you also want, price point is very, very important. And to really sort of set that precedent, to really drive that agenda of going, right, we'll make your whiskey, we'll find the stock, we'll do it at a quality and at a level that's required, and the volume they need as well over a regular basis was a big step. And now you look at supermarket whiskies and you see the Lidls of this world and all these types of things. They're really good quality whiskies, and it was pretty much set up by Ian Macleod, wow, which was amazing.
It was. And of course, went on to have great success with his daughter and the horse side of the world, with one for Arthur, a grand national winner.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm not a big horse racing person, but I think what was amazing to see was, he's involved in horses, has been for it's a passion of the family,
Yes.
And Lucinda's been hugely successful, and Peter's been absolutely there all the way. And Leonard very interested in horse racing as well. And actually, if you look at how, we've sort of acquired Glengoyne, for example. It was at a horse racing meet that they all went out for a lunch, and that was when the deal was done. So integral again to the Russell family, and it's been a sad few weeks, but what a wonderful man. And
95.
Fantastic.
It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And just to put a full stop in that, Gordon, I wasn't present the day, or if I was maybe doing another tour the day they brought the Grand National Trophy into the distillery at Glengoyne, and they had the tour guides, distillery ambassadors, posing with the National Cup, the Grand National Cup.
Yeah, and for those who
jockey.
And for those who don't know, the Grand National is probably the most famous race in the UK, horse race, over very big jumps. In April, it generally is. But probably one of the most important races to win from a public perspective.
Yes.
Really big win that.
And also, again, my first memory of Mr. Peter was serving him a gin and tonic at the chairman's lunch. They were so proud of the purchase of Glengoyne, as you mentioned, Gordon, that every year in the month of March they would stage a chairman's lunch and bring some of their friends, including the jockeys and some of the people from the world of whiskey, including my first year there, Ian Good of Edrington. I opened the door for him, and I was saying, having a wee chat with him, and he did infer that, maybe I shouldn't have sold this, distillery, because he saw how well it was being run and how popular it's becoming, because it was getting mostly used for blending pre-Ian Macleod days. And Ian Macleod took Glengoyne and started to make it more of a single malt. So anyway, the chairman's lunch, did you ever go? Did you ever sample the hospitality?
No.
So
never.
That was good.
No, never invited.
It looked a great. And they used to go back via the Baclivey Inn.
Yeah, for a wee drink on the way home. It's quite a long drive.
The old warehouseman Deke, that was his sort of area of ownership and expertise. And finally, Gordon, just to say on the end of it, you've mentioned it already, but I think it was just there is a way of doing business when you can be human and be a gentleman and have that old school style. You don't need to be Gordon Gekko, Wall Street, sell, standing people to get who you want to be. And I think at the bottom line, that's maybe what Mr. Peter Russell embodied.
I think honesty, trust, integrity are words that you would absolutely align with that. But also, he was a man of his word. It was a handshake, handshake. We've got a deal. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why Ian Macleod still is thought of in the industry the way it is at the moment. So let's raise a glass to
wonderful
to Mr. Peter.
Mr. Peter, a lovely Isle of Skye.
Which Isle of Skye are you drinking?
Just the 8-year-old. And I say just the 8, because we did a tasting and it goes right up. Some of the ages
up to 30 years old, yeah.
years old. So
yeah,
I was just
and,
having a
and
look.
beautiful blend, and really a blend that makes you realize that blended whiskey's fabulous. You know, it's one of those eye-opener blends. You go, wow, this is good stuff.
I was just having a look at it. It just doesn't do my not much research, Gordon, but
Yeah.
Jim Murray, like 2019 in the Whiskey Bible, and I quote, a superstar whiskey.
Well, I mean, it's a nice quote. Not such a fan of Mr. Murray, but yeah, I mean, it's a very good, undoubtedly Isla Skye, I think, so a bit of an iconic blended whiskey. We have a few others. Obviously, we think of Famous Grouse and other ones, but Isla Skye is slightly more distinctive style. And that full range up to 30 years old makes it really something that you don't see in blended whiskey. Is, from an 8-year-old to a 12-year-old to an 18, all the way up to a 30-year-old. You really have all the options there. Fabulous.
That's really nice. Now, ask me where I'm going in 2 weeks' time.
Where are you going in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, the Isle of Skye.
Aye.
Hey, Gordon, we'll get to that. So I'll hopefully do some recording. We'll have some good Isle of Skye chat on the next podcast. But can we, at this point in time, lovely tribute to Mr. Peter, look at some of the news? And I think the biggest news of the last week, and we're recording this end of February 2023, is the figures from the Scottish Whisky Association. They're all over the place. Have you got them to hand or got a rough idea? Could you just explain the headlines of what's been...
Well, I mean, we've sold more whiskey than we've ever done as an industry. I think we've probably sold more single malt now than we've ever done in terms of value. And the Scotch whisky industry is in a relatively good shape, I think.
£6.2 billion export.
That's
you mentioned about the single malt. 59% is blends, and single malt of value export 32%.
That's the highest it's ever been. I remember the days when that figure by value was in the 21, 22. So that just shows you, and that's premium aged single malt being sold abroad as well as extra volumes in new markets. So it's a really good position. And, the world's in a tough place as well, but there's markets really holding up from our perspective. Australia is doing very well. America, of course, and Europe continues to deliver. But, then you think of the other things like India, totally untapped.
That's exactly
China not totally.
The big headlines is France has been replaced as the biggest by volume consumer of Scotch whisky. It's now India.
And that's not with I'm not a fan of Brexit, but that's without a trade deal. If we get a trade deal, the huge population in India will suck up quite a lot of Scotch whisky. And if we're honest, at the moment, Scotch whisky is tight in terms of a lot of volume. There's not a lot of volume kicking around flossing around the system, should we put it that way?
Because
a lot of different reasons. The price of that whiskey that is traded between companies and traded between people is higher than it's ever been. The lack of casks for independent bottlers is a real issue for them, and a lot of people hanging on to whiskey. We also saw, for example, and these are the sort of pressures that we're under, we also saw Diageo are stopping peated malt production from Port Ellen for other distilleries, which is a big issue as well. So, there's this little bit of friction, let's put it that way, in the system, which will change. But there's just it's just the sort of where we're at the moment.
You didn't know this is happening, Gordon, but 44 bottles a second were sold previously to these figures in Scotch whisky, which is an amazing number. You've got £6.2 billion in revenue. It's now up to 53 bottles per second are sold of Scotch whisky. My question to you is, would you like to take part in the 53 whiskey bottle selling quiz?
Yeah, I'd love to, yeah.
Okay. Gordon Dundas, this is to celebrate the fact that we're now selling 53 bottles of Scotch. Every second is leaving this country. I'll try and put some special effects, some music on this, please. Gordon, we need a good score here. Gordon, 53 was a racing number of which fictional Volkswagen Beetle?
Herbie.
Are you a big fan of Herbie? Did you name a movie?
But it's the only racing Volkswagen Beetle I know.
You're right. You're correct. Do you remember that seminal classic, Herbie Goes Bananas? Okay, this is a bit more tricky. It's a music question. 53 in third was a song by an influential American punk band who started in 1974. They all decided to have their surnames as the same name of the band. Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee and Tommy. One word beginning with the letter R. The
Ramones.
Well done. 53 in a third. Do you know the song?
No, I don't, but I do know the Ramones.
You're doing well. 2 out of 2 in the 53 quiz. Plus 53. 53 bottles a second. But plus 53 is the international dialing code of Cuba or Alaska.
It's got to be Cuba.
What did you say that?
Well, Alaska's part of the US.
I made it too easy for him.
Which is plus one, so... Is it not?
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. He's correct. 100%. 53, Gordon, can only be divided by 1 or itself. What kind of number do you call that?
Prime number.
Nothing to do with Amazon, but you're absolutely 100% correct. And the last question, 100% success rates. I typed in on the Whiskey Exchange website, 53-year-old whiskey, and I only got 2 hits. So can you name the distilleries that these 53-year-olds came from? And the first one, here's the quote from the website. Nestled in the rolling Highland Hills is the stunning Beep Distillery, the home of Chivas. Originally established in 1786, it's the oldest working distillery in the Scottish Highlands. Beep. Single malt flows through every bottle of Chivas Regal. It's our signature smooth flavour.
So now it could be Strathyla.
Stop right there. What was your other one?
Well, I'm just thinking of the other ones, but Strathyla was the first one.
Strathyla is absolutely 100%. Gordon, quick word. Strathyla. We're talking whiskey.
I've never been. I don't know much about it. I've never been to Strathyla, but no, I'd love to go. I've never been, but no, I know it's like a big workhorse for Chivas, and they have a few others because I think they did recently. They did a sort of deconstruction of one of their blends, which included releases from 1 or 2 other distilleries that I'm trying to frantically remember.
I know.
But Strathyla, yeah.
You're in between meetings at the moment, Gordon. I'm throwing these questions at you, so it's well done. This is for 100% success. And the other one on the Whiskey Exchange website, a 53-year-old, that's the 2 hits I got.
Yeah.
This other one, it's a Speyside. Manager, Callum A. Fraser. They've just released
Glenfarclas.
Can I just say the exciting new launch comes days after being named Scottish Distiller of the Year 2023 at the Whisky Magazine Icons of Whisky Dinner, the oldest family-owned distillery in Speyside. I was going to mention about John Grant's, first starting in the industry.
I know Callum. That's what gave it away. But I think also just to say, there's another distillery that has released a 53-year-old whiskey. And do you know which one that is?
Well, I think you're referring to Tamdhu.
I'm not referring to Tamdhu. Glengoyne. Glengoyne has released a 53-year-old whiskey about a year a bit ago in travel retail. Our oldest ever Glengoyne was 53.
Of course it was. Of course.
So, there you go. So, a travel retail whiskey. That's Glengoyne's oldest ever whiskey, 53, like 53 bottles a second.
That is exactly the 53 quiz, Gordon. You have done it very well.
Well done.
Thank you very much for that. 53.
Very good. Very good.
Anyway, listen, I blew the budget on whiskey and
Did you?
and I got ourselves an answering machine. So I put it round the neighbourhood, round the hood, to see if anybody wanted to leave a message on the answering machine. So let's see who has left their message today.
Hey, the two Gs, Gordon and Gordon. I hope you're well, Trips. This is the third G. I guess that makes us 3G. This is George. Hope you're well, guys. Obviously, dropping you a wee note with my Spirit of Speyside Whisky Festival chairmanship hat on. And I just thought I'd bring you up to speed with what has been a very successful launch so far with this year's, the 2023 Spirit of Speyside Whisky Festival, which kicks off on Wednesday, the 26th of April this year, up in the glorious Speyside. So how do we measure success? Well, to tell you that we've got almost 5,000 tickets sold so far, which is covering over 400 events. And as we measure that, you know, on day one when we launched, we had a record-breaking £200,000 of sales. Now, when you think of last year, total sales, I think, was circa 170, 180,000. To actually do 200,000 in the first day this year, and at the moment as we speak, I know we are in excess of 250,000. So it looks like this year is going to be one of the most successful events that we've had, which is great. As ever, we're going to be welcoming guests from as far afield as Australia and Singapore. And what are these guests going to experience? Well, listen, some of them will experience exclusive distillery tours at the likes of Spey, one of our new members, partners, Spey, the Craigellachie and the Tamdhu, which are all normally close to the public. So it's great that these are some of the events that sell out very quickly because it's distilleries that the public don't normally get to see. There's also tastings, including some of the rarest Abuna batches at the Aberlour Distillery. And of course, this year we're seeing the launch of the new Strathisla 16-year-old cognac finish, which is wonderful. But yeah, listen, you've also got the normal dinners, the ceilidhs, the cocktails, the outdoor pursuits, all whisky related, of course. The DNA is always going to be whisky. There's always going to be something for everybody, whether it's people that are new to the world of whisky. There'll be ways to introduce their palate to the wonderful flavours, and right up to the most experienced enthusiasts. So, listen, I hope to see you both very soon. I hope we get to cross paths over the event, which I'm sure we will. And thanks for the support, lads. All the best.
Was Joanna Lumley not available to leave a message?
Something about stalking and never call me again. I don't understand what that was about, but thankfully, George McNeil, good old George, can I just go through some of those numbers he said there? They've sold over 5,000 tickets for 400 events, and can you believe, Gordon, 200 grand, £200,000 worth of sales in day one? Yeah. And he said they only managed about 170 in the whole festival last year. Yeah, so great. I just saw a lovely discussion about the Speyside Festival. You're right in the middle of it. It have been for many years, but what an event. The biggest in the world, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, I mean, look, what's great about it is, you know, you get to do things that you don't normally get to do at distilleries. So, you know, for example, you get to tour around Tamdhu. You get to, you know, do those sort of experiences which are so unique. So brilliant. It's great to see the ticket sales are up. I think last year was just a little bit too close to sort of, people were still a bit close to COVID, but I think it was noticeable in terms of seeing people at multiple events, which is great. But I think to see the figures this year, I mean, we're doing an event at Tamdhu called it's basically taking what you get at Glengoyne, the Malt Master. We're talking about how we mix and blend our sherry casks at Tamdhu. That sold out in, I think, about an hour, 30 tickets. So fabulous.
We mentioned at the start of the show, Hansa Spirits in Hamburg.
Yes.
Virtually the first people to the counter to have a small dram sold me tickets to the Tamdhu Malt Master. Fabulous.
Absolutely. No, and it just shows you how, when you come up with something a little bit different, people love it. And I think Tamdhu is really, you know, because you can't go around it, even just to get a tour around a distillery that's not open to the public. It's a little bit warts and all. You know that. You've got the sort of guacamole mill room and the and the the yellow tun room with its tiles, and you're like, this is, you know, but that's, people love to see that, and the whiskey that comes out of it, fabulous. So
Totally
I
authentic.
love the Spirit of Speyside Whiskey Festival. It's a little bit of a marathon. By the end of it on the Saturday night, you are
Yes.
tired.
And if you
But
go back last year, you'll get our interview from the Highlander Inn. And we
Yes.
met up with Douglas Cook and did an interview with before his fish and chips arrived. He'd been doing some tastings,
yes,
I think,
that's
all
right.
day, because
That's right.
his colleague, whose name just escapes me just now, had caught COVID. He was fine.
Yep.
And so he was doing it. And we said, before the fish and chips arrive. Anyway, we've got
Stuart Buchanan, yeah.
Stuart Buchanan, that's right. So with a nice drink in the Highlander and then over to the Copper Dog. So that podcast is available if you go back to last.
And we'll be there this year doing live content. I might drop. I'll see if we've got. Let's do some interesting content, maybe from the cooperage, one or two other things.
Yes.
Yes. I'll throw Gordon in the Spey. That's hugely funny.
That's great. That's really nice. I think that's wonderful sort of content there. And of course, I think George mentioned that Strathisla, we've mentioned already in the 53 quiz, are opening their doors for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. So if you've never been, come. And I will say, I love the Spirit of Speyside Whiskey Festival, but I also love Facial. And if you like your peated whiskies, you know, going to Islay, the home of peated whiskies, really fabulous place to go to. And in a couple of years, you might be able to see Ian Macleod there with our new distillery, Lagan Bay, which obviously is coming on the pipe as well. So, yeah, exciting times.
Very exciting time. Gordon, we're almost near the end, but we've got one more, that light's flashing red, which means there's one more message. Let's see who this is from.
Gordon and Gordon, Jason here from Rosebank Distillery. I had a funny feeling I would be forwarded to your voicemails. I suppose that's what happens when you reach global celebrity status. Anyway, I just wanted to give you both an update, or a much anticipated update on where we are at Rosebank and what we've been up to. So in March last year, I joined our Rosebank Distillery manager, Malcolm Rennie. Malcolm's been in charge of starting numerous new distilleries. He started from the bottom and served in every role that you can, really. So his knowledge is vast, and it's been really great absorbing some of that information and assisting him with everything at Rosebank. So over the last year, it's been kind of non-stop planning and preparation. We've put together a great production team, the creme de la creme of distillery operators. We've been keeping our eyes open and eagerly watching all the distillery equipment going in and being installed, and we've been getting to watch the fantastic stillhouse itself being built. We've also been developing our top secret recipe on paper, and once we start, we can obviously do some little fine tuning with that. The full team are hopeful that we can produce a spirit that's worthy of the Rosebank name. What about timeline, I hear you ask? Well, our basics of the mash tuns, stills, worm tubs, and everything else that goes along with that is in, and the whole installation process is about 95% complete at the moment. Our new stillhouse and conversion of one of the warehouses is almost complete too. Once we move in, we'll have 4 weeks of commissioning at the distillery, and that will allow us to do safety tests, water tests, etc. And then we'll be taking our time and listening to Malcolm on getting that spirit right. So it's exciting times ahead, so watch this space. So when can you visit, I hear you ask? Well, our amazing visitor experience, and I can tell you I've seen what's going on, and it's truly incredible, is a wee bit more further behind than the actual stillhouse itself. So we've still got some car parking facilities to construct. So that'll be a bit later in 2023, but this year is definitely going to be the year for Rosebank. Getting behind the scenes is access, working with Malcolm, watching this abandoned distillery rise from ashes has already been an amazing experience. This is no ordinary stillhouse or visitor centre. This is a monument an architectural cathedral that the Rosebank name and Falkirk definitely deserves. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience already, but I literally cannot wait to get Rosebank up and running and let the world see what we have built and achieved. It's a real testament to Ian Macleod Distillers and how we really have a passion for our actual distilleries. Anyways, I'm going to go because I'm going to get cut off because this mission's too long, but I hope you're both well, and I look forward to showing you all around, and look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Cheers, bye-bye.
Well, you can't keep a good man down. That's Jason McCabe, of course. Wonderful. Great update there from Rosebank. You can just tell by his voice, he's so passionate and so excited. 95% of the equipment's in. It's just...
There's a few last-minute things that just taking a bit of time, but can't wait for that to be open, and you'll be hearing more news as we go through the year on when that'll be open to the public. But fabulous, really, really
it's
good.
Going to be very exciting. That cathedral of whiskey, he called it. It's going to be...
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
One of the big stories in Scotch whiskey.
Totally and utterly.
Really going to be worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of distilleries open in Scotch, but you don't really get to see, ones like Rosebank coming back, the phoenix from the flame, the king of the lowlands, as people have called it. Very exciting news, and we just can't wait. We all can't wait to get in it and get in amongst it, but we're just got a few things to get through.
Triple distilled in worm tubs. I mean, really.
Why would you? Why would you?
And lovely bourbon barrels, but we'll get into that. But that's a lovely update there. Gordon, I think our time is drawing to a close.
It is. No, it's great. Look, we're a little bit conscious that we haven't done something. We wanted to get back on the horse. We'll try and be a bit more regular. It's just a bit difficult with how busy we are, but all good. And we will come back with some more news and some more features in the next, and some more interviews as well. Yes,
I'm going to Stockholm next week, so we'll be doing something from the Baltic. I'll be on the Baltic, literally.
Yeah. You will be on so you're going to the Cinderella Whiskey Cruise. The Cinderella Whiskey Cruise, for those who've never heard about the Cinderella Whiskey Cruise, it's a unique experience. It's 4 days, 3.5 days on a ferry with a whiskey show and masterclasses, and you never get off the ferry for 3.5 days.
Nope.
And it's long and tiring, but it's good. So you'll be there talking all the whiskey. I've got quite a lot going on here, which is great at the moment, and looking at what we'll be doing in terms of the US market and things like that. So yeah, busy, but good to catch up and do a little podcast.
Oh, it's a great podcast. Well done in the 53 quiz. That was absolutely stunning. And we'll have more people on the answer machine. I think that's money well spent, that answer machine.
Fantastic.
Gordon, raise my Isle of Skye whiskey. And again, remember, Mr. Peter, and say
Mr. Peter Russell, Slanjiva.
On the whiskey trail, coasting ahead. On the whiskey trail,